my first trip felt different because I had a budget. My name's Gary Dean. I'm the Blue Hat Bucket List Traveler. Did 34 cruises in 43 months. Drove all 48 states and 10 provinces in that same 43 months. 3.5 years, did a lot of travel. Go, go, go. So I hope you're enjoying all the different things on the channel. This is about my first trip that I had budget for. Before that, I just so I was working, I hadn't traveled a lot, Vegas here and there, and just small trips, weekend trips. And then I was living in the Philippines. And even there, the trips would be like go to a resort nearby, spend the day. It was mostly day trips, go to Manila for a weekend. I lived a 1-hour flight from Manila. So it was the smaller trips. And now I was working for myself and started to make some extra money. So where to go? Started checking out flights. And there was a budget airline. There was Philippine Airlines, which was the expensive one. And then there was Cebu Airlines, which was the budget airline at the time. And I could somehow they were promoting Singapore. And it was a very good deal for the flight. And it was me and Pink Hat and her 2 kids. So I needed 4 airplane tickets. And then a 2-bedroom Airbnb or hotel because you got to separate the kids and everything. So it was going to be some money, but my business had started to do okay. And so I had the budget. We're going to go to Singapore, turns out, because the numbers all worked and everything worked. It was so nice. The downside a bit, I guess, would have been the budget airline, but there's no budget hotel. Singapore, stay downtown. They're all very expensive. Singapore turned out to be a very expensive city, period, which I didn't really know. It's probably one of the most expensive in Asia, but it's, crime-free and very beautiful, and it's worth it. Costs more, but it's good to go. So we flew in there, and the budget airline was a disaster. Good deal, but we were literally all joking on the plane that they hadn't paid the fuel bill because we couldn't get out of there. But they said it was just due to Manila the traffic at the airport was just too many planes coming and going. And I've since come to think that probably is fairly true. It's a very, very busy airport, very crowded. One runway, so very hard to get with a city that size. But yeah, we were late to get out of there, late and hot. It was so hot and sitting in that plane waiting to get out of there. But we got out of there. We got into Singapore. And the first problem was we couldn't all fit in the taxi. It was like a size of a Corolla, and we got 4 of us plus 4 suitcases. So we had to take 2 taxis in order to get there. The guy was going to try and have them hanging out of the trunk, and we weren't sure we wanted to lose a suitcase or not. So he said, no, we'll just get 2 taxis. So we had to get 2 taxis, and then we get into the city, and the airport was far from the city. So this is my first time to travel with a budget, but the budget was getting eaten up very quickly. We get in there, and we went, I guess the reason we chose Singapore too was because it had Universal Studios. So the kids were teenagers. Her kids were teenagers. They were excited for that, and just to be traveling. They'd never flown anywhere before, so this was their first time even on an airplane. So it was a big deal. We got into Singapore and 2 taxis to get to this, and it was a nice hotel. I managed to get a hotel, a 2-bed, and it had they have suites there because they get a lot of business clients. So it was a nice hotel. I think it was a Somerset or something like that, but it was expensive, but it was Singapore, and it came with a dining room, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms. It's like a condo, really, but it's a hotel. And it had free breakfast, which for 4 of us was a good deal because it cost a lot to go out and eat. Because it had the kitchen and the dining room and kitchen and all that, we could get takeout food and eat there too. So, which the kids kind of prefer anyways. They're not really foodies. They like, try different Carl's Jr. or, different types of burger joints and whatnot. So and what we didn't know either was we got our Universal Studio. We had to pre-buy the tickets and book them, so make sure that we could get into the park. And it turned out to be afternoon we went, and that's when they can get the lightning and the big rain in Singapore. We're not from there, so we don't know that. But yeah, that's what went on. We had to. They didn't evacuate the park or anything, but they shut all the rides down, everything down. We had to wait in the buildings and stay out of the lightning. And if you've ever been in Asia and seen an afternoon lightning storm, it's pretty lights up the whole sky. I'll tell you, she's sheet lightning. You would call it sheet lightning, just and pouring rain. But they always say in Asia, the harder the rain, the the shorter the time frame of the rain, So it rained so hard it was over, and within 40 minutes it was all back to blue sky and good. So it turned out to be okay. But yeah, we had to spend money and get the rain ponchos because we didn't bring any. And we really enjoyed Universal. Our favorite ride that we did was they had the big rubber tubes, so we could all four of us fit on one and go down, and it swirled around and did this whole thing, and it was pretty fun. We enjoyed it. And then we went up. We did oh yeah, this is a crazy story. So I saw these Do the Duck or something was the ads, and it was these old amphibious vehicles from Vietnam, from the war. American amphibious vehicles, so they could go in and out of the water. It goes on land. It's got 8 wheels, and then it can go down into the water and cruise through. So I booked that, and Tony and her kids were a little bit scared, and I said, well, I mean, there's lots of people on it, so it's going to be safe, or all these people weren't there. But then they put the life jackets on us even, so then even I was like, I guess things maybe can go wrong, but they didn't. And it literally, so you got to drive all around, downtown Singapore. Kind of weird, a place that's a city and a country is the same, right? Singapore. So but saw Singapore in this amphibious vehicle, and then it went down into the water. So now you're out there, and they've got the famous Singapore Bay with the lions, water fountains are shooting, and the water's going everywhere, and a beautiful, beautiful bay. So we did all that, and then you can go over to the Sands Hotel. That, I can't imagine what that costs to stay in a night. That's got to be the $500 to $700 to $1,000 a night place. It's big money. But you can just go there and pay for go to the rooftop elevator ride and view, kind of like a viewing area. And you go up there, and they've got all the pools and all the stuff, but that's just for the guests. But still, you can eat or get a coffee and get some great scenic photos of Singapore. And it was amazing up there. Even the kids that are kind of bored they just want to get back to the hotel and get on the internet and do stuff. Kind of before eSIMs and stuff back then. So once they were away from the internet, they were pretty bored. But teenagers, but it was impressive enough that they didn't mind it. We were up there. It was pretty cool. And then the other thing was the casino. The casino was, maybe we'll go to the casino one night, but turns out it's like a dress code casino. You have to have a black tie, and it's all these crazy dress rules and stuff. I think it was in the Sands Hotel, in the basement of the Sands Hotel, or somewhere in there. But yeah, dress codes and all this, and we were tourists, so I didn't have any of that kind of stuff, so we couldn't go in. And then there's some huge water slide parks, but we never did figure out, not sure, they weren't downtown, they were somewhere far away, so we never did go. We did go to the zoo. It's got an amazing zoo in Singapore. It's definitely worth going out there. We spent a day out there, and then we also toured. They have an F1 race every year in Singapore, Formula One car race, and we you could tour the paddock and see some of where the race cars park and do all that kind of stuff. So it was worth it. And then going out of Singapore, I had a bit of a problem because they want to know when I was going to be going back to my country. And I said, doesn't matter, I'm going back to the Philippines. I always go back to the Philippines. I worked there. They don't care. We want to see a ticket going back to your country. Make sure you're going home. That's the rules before you can get on the plane. So I ended up having to buy a ticket. Okay, when am I going to... I had to make travel arrangement at the airport. I thought I was going to have to send them home and figure out my own life, but I managed to book a ticket. They let me use the internet in their office, the airline office, and I booked a ticket on Expedia to go home. And June's my mom's birthday, so I was go home in June, so I got that done. And yeah, so that was the first time I managed to travel, when I had money to look after it. It was relaxing. Like I said, the things that can come up when you're traveling, who knew that we wouldn't all fit in a taxi? So that was 2 taxis. So cost double, right? We had to take 2 taxis to go back to the airport too. So we got 2 taxi fares, not cheap. Airport's far. Turned out Singapore was super expensive for eating. Even if you're just doing, takeout or anything, it was with 4 people, it was a lot of money. 3 meals. We got free breakfast, but then 2 more meals plus snacks, and then Universal Studios, and then doing the Sands tour, and then doing the other tours, and the duck amphibious vehicle tour, and it just, it was expensive. We were just there 4 days, and 2 of those days, half days were traveling. So it was like 2 full days of go, and then 2 days of travel. So yeah, it all adds up. Just you do the best you can, and it's very hard to know what things cost though. So depending on your budget, just make sure you have room on your credit card. That's my advice. Make sure the credit card is good to go. Cheers.